Hey everyone, Sajeel Qureshi here with another episode of RevOps 500. Today I am stoked to be talking to someone who I know has been in the HubSpot world for a pretty long time. They started off, I think, in a different company or two. I can't remember. Yeah, they were. I think he started Modern Sales Pro. Then he was at Scale Factor before that. Now he's the founder and principal advisor at Process Pro Consulting. Adam Sharrow, welcome to RevOps 500, man.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, glad you're here. And again, the first question I'm going to ask you is like I said to anybody else is what is your what is your biggest mistake?
Oh man, so the biggest mistake I'd say we made early on as an agency was sometimes solving for yourselves, not the customer. And I'd argue most agencies drift into that sometimes without even realizing it's happening.
So solve for yourself. Like what does that mean exactly? Like take me through what that all means.
Yeah. So, you writing out on paper, how are we going to run this business? How are we going to set it up? We've got to be standardized. It's got to be efficient and effective. And you quickly realize, what is efficient and effective might not be what's best for your customer. And so you
Oh,
always got to be doing what's best for your customer, and be adapting kind of your services through that, as number one thing.
okay. So you solved your own problems first and then your customer problems second. Is that kind of the gist of it or
Yeah, I'd say, like one of the things we were looking at, hey, what's the perfect onboarding situation? And how do we scale that and grow? And the most common thing that we kept seeing was just customers coming to us, not actually needing that, but needing things fixed up or cleaned up. So,
okay.
what I like to call that is like failure to launch. So someone got into HubSpot and got through the onboarding or got through their own version of how they wanted to set the tool up, and then came back to us and was like, the data doesn't tell the story. We're not doing things consistently. We've got workflow soup, aka automation attempts that are overriding each other. And when you dig into the why, it's almost like it traces back to that initial onboarding, or hey, here's the features and how to use them. But you really got to dig into, how do we make a system like a CRM or HubSpot work for your business, right? And put your business into HubSpot and not the other way around.
So what triggered the change exactly? When did you guys realize that as an agency at Process Pro, like, wait a minute, we've got this sort of backwards or in reverse or something.
Yeah, it was early on. It wasn't necessarily one more, but we kept seeing that pattern. So it was like, kept acquiring customers not who came from other implementation attempts. And when we dig in, we're like, well, why is this? And it's you always want to have clear, consistent processes, and I dare say cookie cutter type ways for your team to operate on. But in reality, that doesn't always play out in the practice, right? We know the little nuances that every business might have. And so, for that, we realized, like, if we kept going down that path, we wouldn't be delivering. We'd be delivering what we're getting here, and like leading customers down what may be easy to like check boxes and get things done, but ultimately not deliver a well put together HubSpot instance and get things implemented for a customer all the way through, which includes enablement and teaching and all those fun pieces.
So did you put together like some sort of like a recipe for success for what each client implementation looks like for you guys? I mean, because it sounds like, I mean, I'm going to say it sounds like you're very process driven.
Yeah,
So, like,
I had to
did
go
you,
there early.
yeah, I kind of went there early, yeah, sorry.
No, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
5 minutes in, but I mean, so are you like, are you really like, I mean, do you have I mean, do you still have some of that, like that system in place where you go into it could be any portal and you go and you say, okay, these are what I'm looking for. This is where I'm pressing to find out where the symptoms are. Do you still have that? Or is it just totally, you know, up the opposite?
Absolutely have that. Yeah, you've got to have.
Mhm.
There's templates to it, but it's matching and knowing, like, hey, where's the business at? You may be just getting started with no product market fit and just trying to get some sales,
Mhm.
versus a Series B, Series C company, or working with public companies too. and like what you're trying to solve changes and how you're trying to solve changes. So really it's applying frameworks that, but allowing for customization, right? Like, and that at the end of the day is enables us to work with our customers, listen, solve for their needs, prioritize, rank, and get things done in an effective way. Which then we can look in the rearview mirror and be like, "Hey, we did this. Hey, we did this." And but we did it matching kind of what the customer needs, and really listening and being customized, if you will.
So it's kind of like a mass customization sort of, not mass, but like customization on mass, where like you can have the frameworks and the recipes for, and the templates as you call them, for many people, many customers, but there's still room for ambiguity, I guess. Is that kind of how it?
Yes, exactly, exactly, yeah. And then also, just like everyone has that bad taste in their mouth when you talk about a big project or a consulting, and they're like, this didn't go right, this didn't go right, and
Mm.
so like having flexibility ultimately to be able to meet and match what your customer needs, like that's what it allows for. Hey, we got to pivot or we got to make a change. Like we enable that to happen, because why solve for something that may have changed from a couple weeks ago, and we have to adapt, right? So yeah, so that kind of gives you that flexibility.
Okay, so let's talk through one example that you gave. You said that you had a you said sometimes you walk into a portal or like a client, and you see they're having product market fit issues, and the sales just aren't there, and they just need sales kind of within the next month or two. And then you have another client who's like a series B, series C sort of company which has money, and they want to hire an agency to help them with things. So let's talk about the first example. Like, how what does that template look like, or what's that story like, and where have you seen most of the customization come from when you're dealing with clients like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting started, you got to get at bats, right? So it's how do we track where the leads are coming from that we're talking to, and how do we capture feedback from those, and you may not have a buttoned up, completely figured out sales process at that point. So your stages may be pretty basic and simple, so you can see how things are moving through, but you're really focused on what am I learning through these conversations, and how am I looping that back into the business. So making sure that you're able to capture that. And now, when you're a Series B company, you're still capturing that type of information and data that you're learning from, but we don't have to make some rigorous, long, drawn out process when the process isn't created, right? And so again, it's balancing. It allows you to balance, like we've got to get foundations in place and have tracking, but we got to be flexible so it's not like, hey, we learned something, we got to change a whole process, and you have to go back through and edit. It's like that's one kind of good example of balancing too much or too little of customization.
Okay. And when it comes to like a company which is maybe more established or has a product market fit, how does that vary from when you're going to a job where there isn't any of that? How are the two different?
Yeah, I mean, you might jump into a Series B company and have a well-established process and plan, but maybe the reps aren't following it all, or it's not clear across the team. And so, really making sure first, as with any revenue operations, like, are we doing things consistently? If I'm creating deals when I feel like it's right, and you're creating deals or changing stages, like let's make sure we have the foundations in place to be able to get the data that we need,
Mm.
and then go look at it and say, hey, this is accurate and consistent because everybody's doing the same thing. We're not like looking at all these outliers, and we have a way to capture the information. And maybe in a Series B company, you may have a lot of that set up, but now we're adding kind of force multipliers, especially in an AI age, of how we getting those call recordings in and getting those call recordings reviewed, or sending out coaching, or capturing those CRM properties automatically, right? Like you really, you're usually kind of stepping up in terms of the advancement of what you're looking to do.
Yeah, and in those cases, it's like also you have turnover, right? People come and
Yeah.
go, and then just like you're starting the people who have implemented or who have chosen HubSpot or Process Pro. they're not the people who are necessarily using it every single day anymore. And then you have to convince, is there like a convincing part that you have to do to get them to buy in, or is it easier because they're brand new and they just kind of will accept whatever is as it was and that sort of thing?
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time? I was trying to get my camera here.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
There we
So
go.
what I was saying was like sometimes when you come into these companies, there's turnover, right? And
Yeah,
for the people who brought HubSpot in or brought Process Pro in, they're not necessarily the people who are the ones who are using it today. Maybe they used it a
correct.
year ago, 6 months ago. So when that happens, is there like that friction of you guys having to like prove your worth, show your worth, or do they accept you guys as it is and you are okay with all of that?
Yeah, anytime you have major stakeholder changes, absolutely, it's you're rebuilding relationships,
Yeah.
and again, it's like, how do I have to show you, like, why did we set up what we had? At that point where you're already there, so it's great because it's like somebody can come in and be like, this is what we have, but you got to be open minded and understand that sometimes folks have different opinions or they've done things in the past that they want, and so you've got to be flexible and listen, reestablish relationships, and make sure we're looking at, hey, what are the priorities? Maybe the priorities shift now because what was important to sales leader one isn't as important to sales leader two. Um, and just make sure everything ties in. If you keep marching forward, be like, hey, we're doing our project and we're ignoring all the other things going on outside of it, then you're never going to win anyway, right? And so you absolutely have to adapt to the situation. You have to adapt to the new normal, and rebuild that relationship so that you are a trusted advisor, because you may be trusted from some other folks, but if it's all net new relationships, you're starting over.
Yeah, they say a new broom sweeps clean, right? So I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah, there's going to be like trying to change things or bring in different sorts of people, and they want to do it their way, and it's their seat to sit in now, right? So it's whatever we've done in the past doesn't really matter anymore. Like the story's taking a different turn, so it's just
right.
changing. Yeah, and so like dealing with that can be hard, right? I mean, like, because you have to prove it again. You have to show why and explain it, and it's not easy.
Yeah, and most times you get leadership changes. Someone's going to come in and want to put their mark on it, right? And so again, for us in those situations in the past, I look back on those, and it's always like, well, the continuity that we can provide and
Mm.
support, and the explanation of, hey, why were these things done, and that is important for any new leader, and most new leaders value that a lot because they appreciate the twofold side of it. One, it's you're open, you're listening, you're not trying to force the same thing no matter what,
Mm.
but you're also a great resource that can help me understand where we were and where we took wrong turns potentially, or went one way or the other, so that I can go do my job the most effectively. Which, at the end of the day, for Process Pro Consulting, it's helping us make our customers successful. That's what drives us. That's the goal. A project may shift a little bit and veer in different directions, but are you making folks successful on the other side? And it's that company getting success from it. If you're doing those things, then you're winning big time.
Yeah, and that kind of comes back to what you said earlier too about like your biggest mistake being that you maybe force fed your own process on yourselves and everybody else, even though people didn't necessarily want that. But then you started to ask more questions about the customer, like why do you need this thing done, or what is the purpose behind this sort of thing? More like these broader sort of business questions. And then so when a new person just does come in and they say, "Hey, why is this done this way? I'm the new sheriff in town." At least you can say, "Well, we wrote this whole HubSpot constitution or the CRM constitution came into play because of this, that, and the other thing," and then it gives them the context they need to understand why you did it.
Yeah,
Right? Is it?
absolutely. Yep.
And do
Yep,
they
for
always
sure.
agree with you? Do they always agree with like why you did it and why you did things the way you did, and or do they say, "Well, that was then, and I'm changing it," and like, they get all
Yeah,
how,
I think any consultant that says they haven't gone through that is probably lying, because it definitely happens. But again, it's how do you approach this, right? It's like, we've got a methodology. I can explain why we did something and why this is the way it is, or why they chose to have the pipeline separated, or why they chose to be tracking this versus not. And it could be for good reason, but you always got to come back and open and listen and understand kind of where they're coming from, and that again is the most important part, because it's just like, hey, you get new information every single day, which is why RevOps is one of the hardest jobs. Like, hey, we've got this priority, now we got this priority, now we want to change, and you gotta stay calm and collected through it, take in what you're hearing and seeing, and to make sure, is it still reaching our company, helping our company reach our goals? So does it tie to company goals? If it doesn't, then maybe the project isn't a priority. We've worked with a company where partner relationship management was the number one thing, and we started getting into it, and we were working on the whole project, and then they had some leadership changes, and I was like, well, now it's not as important. So do you keep going building the project, even though they said they didn't want it, or they're shifting their mindset, or another thing pops in their priority? And that's the flexibility that you got to have in RevOps, right? But you have to also hold strong, and that goes into just more of like your revenue operations motions and prioritization and alignment as a company. But it's easy, you catch all the stray projects and ideas in the RevOps seat. So helping people stay focused is key.
And do you ever like find yourselves mothballing projects that were just like say like that relationship management one where that was a big thing to somebody, and then when it wasn't a big deal to the person who came in afterwards? And do you just say, okay, the engagement's over on that thing, mothballing it, or how does that take me through that? Like, how does that all go?
Not usually to the full extreme of like, hey, we're just not going to finish it in any way, shape, or form. But, you may revamp it and say, hey, what requirements were must have, so really just need to have or nice to have in my book. So let's scale the project back to get to some basics and get some revs and get it moving and get it running before we go build it all, right? And so I'd say it takes more of that form than just like, wow, we were completely off, because between us working with them and we're all prioritizing appropriately, you typically or in the right direction. So I'd say it's rarely like cold turkey that big of a change, but that's more kind of a real scenario. Like,
So when you have these sort of jobs, like, do you ever have a situation where you go in, you do something, and then your clients or you guys feel like, you know what, we just feel like maybe that wasn't the right thing to have done, and you just kind of walk it back and just revert, almost like a control Z, right? Where you just kind of undo, whatever was done. I mean, has that ever happened to you, or no?
trying to think. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in some sense, like, hey, well, let's go test something, right? And then you look at it a month later, and you're like, this was we made the process too cumbersome because we were trying to get too much information, or it's like that could be one example, and it's like, hey, what we like to do the most here at Process Pro is like fall forward, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're talking about it. Let's go make a change. Let's make an update to the process. Like, let's remove the friction to do that. And if we all agree and it all makes sense, let's do it. Let's learn from it and let's iterate from it.
Yeah.
Versus try to make the perfect everything, and the cost of inaction is so high, right?
Yes.
Especially just in building a business in general, right? Like, you learn and you iterate, and so I'd say one of the foundational principles for us is to allow for that flexibility, but also fall forward and get those projects done, right? Hey, we talked about it. How do we get that done in HubSpot? Well, here's how you get that done in HubSpot. Let's get it done. Let's go learn from it, circle back to it. Did it work? Did it not work? Iterate, or go to the next piece and the next kind of thing that stamps on top of that, right? Versus let's step back and draw everything out so perfectly that we go through it to a nauseum and try to think of every little corner route. And you got to have that. You got to have that, like, hey, I'm okay with a little bit of ambiguity, knowing it's going to get us that next step.
And that's kind of going back to what your mistake was, right? Where you had that issue, right? Where you just didn't you didn't have. I mean, you were making cookies with the cookie cutter all the time, right? Like, you're very very process
or thought
driven.
you had to. Yeah, or thought you had to try to, or something. Yeah, and it's like you don't.
Yeah.
No, it's okay as long as everybody's operating under those same principles, right?
Yeah. So,
Um,
so the principles stay the same, but the actual
yeah,
details, what you put in there, are different, right? Like it's, which is interesting. So I mean, and like, and it didn't happen. It was it like a course of a couple months? Was it a year? Was it like, what were the triggers? Was there like friction with customers? Was it like, I mean, like, what are some specifics that you can share?
yeah. I mean, I just think we started and we're like, hey, we're gonna start selling implementations and onboardings and get a bunch of brand new HubSpot customers. And we ended up getting a lot of existing customers, and we kept seeing that same repeat track of, huh, these are kind of reasons why people ended up in this state.
Mm.
And so then that kind of helped us reverse engineer, like, hey, well, let's not go do a similar kind of onboarding approach where we're just giving features and we're not really digging into the process and digging into the details and aligning what they need at this moment, and ignoring the coaching, teaching, and training of your team to actually follow it, just because you bought a more baseline uh, approach, right? So that was kind of mostly, that was like, oh wow, the writing's on the wall, like
Mhm.
this is what people need. People need customized revenue operations solutions
Uh-huh.
for getting their business set up into the tool, or just ongoing support, right? It's like, hey, I'm in the tool, but I want to do these tests, or I want to make these things, or what am I not doing yet that I should be doing? And that was really kind of where we've settled into the ecosystem, I'd say.
And like it's that's actually a really fascinating thing to see, because like, I mean, you don't usually see like stories like that where people kind of say, so it sounds like these customers came to existing customers and they said, maybe we lost our HubSpot admin guru, or we lost our person. We need someone else to come in and take over, or we don't like this partner. We want to bring in you, something like that. And it's more like just just kind of doing stuff inside of HubSpot. Whereas what you're saying is, look, I want to pull back and say, okay, what's going on with this hub? What's going on with this business? Like, how do I forget the nuts and bolts of it? Like, just talk about like strategically, not so much operationally. It's okay, like this workflow, that report, give me that dashboard. How come these leads are not writing to this person? It sounds like you wanted to get out of those conversations and move into like a higher ones. And was that like what kind of ways were you able to do that? Because that's also a very hard thing to do, right? Like it's to someone who wants this, and you're saying, forget about that. Let's talk from here. Like how did you get to that point? Like, what were some of those days like?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's, just it's about having an approach to get there and helping people see, okay, like we do need to take a step back. You got to slow down before you can speed up, right? Another example I think of is, we've had customers say, hey, I want to get all these things done, right? You go
Right.
talk, and everybody, any RevOps organization, they all want to get everything done on their list.
Yes.
But if you have 10 different projects going all at the same time, like typically that slows things down, right? You got all the spinning plates. And so it's like, we recognize that quickly. It's like, hey, we got to slow down to speed up with customers, right? So let's get the foundations established. Let's get an understanding of where you're at a business. Let's understand what is going to be the most important to go, and then let's hit go, and let's get those things done, and let's get those quick wins, and let's start moving project to project forward. And to do that, you almost have to have that reset conversation. So it's like, hey, well, we all know we want this all done,
Yeah.
but what's the 1, 2, and 3? Let's prioritize. Let's have those conversations, and let's get that checked off the box. That's better than all of us looking back in a quarter and frantically trying to figure out how to get all 10 things done, and stressing out your team and stressing out our team, and then all of us not getting like those like aha yes moments that you all at the end of the day work for, right? Like, we don't work to be disappointed. We don't work to be like, oh man, I didn't have fun today, right? It's like you enjoy your job and you enjoy helping people, and you enjoy being successful, and those are kind of the like key things to have fun and get things done.
But even then, like, how do you? like how do you pull somebody, because I mean, you're coming from the outside looking in, right, usually, and
Yeah.
these are existing customers. How do you pull somebody like literally staring, you know, at the board, the project board, like the, I don't know, call it like the Asana board, the Jira board, whatever your favorite collab tool
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
None of them are sponsored by RevOps 500. But anyway, I mean, like, how do you pull those people out of that thing and just say, look, get out of your day to day for a week. You're like, are you kidding me? A week? Are you, Adam? What are you? What kind of drugs are you on? Don't you? I mean, don't they come at you with some of that stuff? And like, don't they tell you like, what is this process pro thing? What are you guys doing? Like, don't they chew you out?
Uh, haven't gotten chewed out, thankfully.
You're doing
But
your job.
no, it's an interesting. I'm just thinking back on experiences of that, and it's like it's again, yes, I'm getting asked this, I'm getting asked that, but it's like you go to the doctor and the doctor doesn't give you the answer unless they're asking you questions and understanding like how are we here, why are we here, what's happened, and so it's kind of that same approach where it's like, well, help me understand, like, why do you feel this way, why you're in the day to day, but here's a different perspective. And this is the joy of working with any consultant across any medium, whether it's us as a RevOps consultant or a marketing consultant that you bring in or a sales. They have different experiences. They see patterns over and over again. And so it's being able to take that, like, well, we've seen this before. It's completely okay. I'm not attacking you for what you have or haven't done. No one is. But we're trying to understand, like, what's this feeling come from? Why are we here? What are we trying to accomplish? So that we can make a roadmap and a plan together to win and be successful. And so, typically, whether you do that in any form or fashion of life, like if you can articulate those things, that's what gets people on board. That's what helps you work as a team. That's what helps you go get those wins,
Yeah,
when you're aligned in that way, right?
that's a interesting way of putting it. I mean, like, I'm a very much in the weeds, in the trenches sort of person, so it's hard to think, this way sometimes. But yeah, I like how you're thinking about how you open it up for other people, like doctor pressing where it hurts, stuff like that. You're really really fascinating guy, Adam. I mean, like, so tell me, like, that's another question. Like, so, how does a guy who studied accounting and finance, like, and is a Virginia Tech Hokie, how does that person become like the CEO of a RevOps consultancy agency type of thing?
Yeah.
How does that story unfold exactly? Give me the cliff notes of it.
Our accounting and finance and RevOps is, I've found, not as uncommon as we think. And
Yeah.
well, one, you do auditing out of college, and you're like, wow, I hate this. I got to do something. I got to do something different with my life. So I did that. And then I transitioned into at KPMG. Same. I transitioned into financial management consulting, which was like Hyperion and
Yeah.
SAP implementations and optimizations, and so that got me into like systems thinking. And then you've got the numbers base, which very revenue ops. I went and worked at a startup, where I got into the sales operations, marketing operations side of things. That's where I was like, whoa, this is everything combined.
That's awesome.
Um, and it was in the days of where integrations to software, in the heyday of, hey, now we can make kind of little mini ERP systems or connected systems. I was working with HubSpot and Salesforce and dealing with the integrations and all of that. And I was like, wow, this is complex and confusing, and there's millions of options these days. Like, we could go work and help people make these decisions and set these systems up. So that was that was how it all connects in a long form.
Wow, that is interesting. That's an interesting
Yeah.
story. Like, and one thing is, like, I know when we were catching up a couple of days ago, you asked me a question that I don't think I'd never been asked in, like, in one of these kind of like conversations before. But you asked me, like, what is something awesome that happened this week? And I was very curious about the origin of that question, because I'm probably not the only guy you ever asked that question to. So tell me about that. Like, what's the origin of the question? Where did it come from? How often do you say it? How often do you use it? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, in our Zoom world and Zoom culture, it's easy just
Yeah,
to have the same, hey, how are you doing? And what's the same response you get? Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yep.
Yeah.
And, or, you know, like, but you just kind of open it up to be like, hey, let's open it up to negative thoughts or ideas, or just a quick, yep, good, right? And so when you ask that question, you actually connect and you say, hey, what's been great this week? Also been trying to practice gratitude and just think differently, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
all the world can be a negative place, and you see headlines and this and that, and so it's like, at the same time, there's a lot of great things happening every day in your life or in your business, or you did get this process done, and we celebrate that for a half a second, and then we go back to our list and we're like, damn, I got 10 more things to do. I got to work. I'm back into that. And so it's just a way of pattern interrupting and making us all realize, like, hey, good things are happening, and I did get good things done today, or I did make an accomplished step. And I like to try to think about those things as opposed to all the things on my to-do list, because I have a to-do list too.
What's something good that happened this week for you, Adam?
Oh man, good thing that happened for me this week on the personal front is my kids are sleeping through the night, so that's giving me a lot more clarity. It was a tough Q1. We have a 3-year-old, and he was not imagination, scared of the dark. So that's been great because I'm happier and thinking straighter, and helping my team and helping just figure things out in a better way.
Nice. Yeah, those are fun years. I mean, they go by fast. Every cliche is true about that stuff for sure.
Oh,
So
it's so true. Yeah, you see it
so
like you're like, whoa.
so tell me, but tell us a bit more about Process Pro Consulting and what you guys are all about.
Yeah, so Process Pro Consulting, we're a HubSpot diamond agency focused on revenue operations, go-to-market teams. It's changed over 8 years. 8 years ago, there wasn't a RevOps team. There might have been a pseudo system admin, to now we're working with every team that has a RevOps team. And so really what we do is we're helping support the use of HubSpot, integrations, data, people, and process, all work cohesively so that you're getting the most out of your HubSpot instance. And that's just changing so fast, right? With AI and how to keep everything connected. So that's really where we sit in and focus for helping customers.
And where can people learn more about Process Pro Consulting or about you, Adam, specifically? Where can people go?
Yeah, so I'm very active on LinkedIn. Like sharing my thoughts on kind of where we're at and whatnot there. But then processproconsulting.com is our website. You can check us out. Always reach out to me. Happy to answer questions, both personally and professionally, on kind of where you're at. So yeah, those would be the two best spots.
Yeah, Adam, this has been a lot of fun. I mean, I like how you took your mistake as an agency and kind of translated that into like success as an agency. That's always nice to hear about. And then like even like the how you can get people out of the weeds and into like the seeing the forest or the trees or whatever cliche you want to use. I mean, how you get people to do that is pretty unique. It's people always say like these agencies are all kind of the same, but I mean they do have their differences, and that's something that is unique that I picked up from you guys is that you guys are able to kind of pull people out pretty quick and then just really get them to synthesize on the why. Then when you have turnover coming in, how to deal with all of that because you have a good foundational reason as to why you do things and why you're there in the first place. So very, very fun, very entertaining. I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a great time as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and if anybody liked it out there, just give Adam a holler, shoot him a line on LinkedIn or hit processproconsulting.com. This has been another episode of RevOps 500, everybody, and thanks for listening.